Hello, 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 and happy Halloween season. I've got my accoutrement, mostly from last year. On that subject, I'm going to start off by saying Halloween this year, 2023, my family is one of these no guts, no glory, Halloween all the way groups. We love Halloween as much as many people love, Christmas. We, me and the ex are both, children of the Black Velvet persuasion grown up, and we've done our best to try and raise our kids the right way, abnormally, as best as we can. We say hello to Bucky as well. We say hello to the elephant in the room, gold medal. Pleased to enjoy. Tim Frey, grabbing that silver by the power of the silvery moon, may he be guided. Mario Heat, grabbing that bronze, but grabbing that gold over on Twitch. We also say hello to Bucky, and we've got Jonaside, who is quite possibly at work. I'll hazard a guess. Halloween 2023, for me, has been kind of, even for myself, for my own channel, I've been aware of the fact that if I reflect back on where we were Halloween 2022, number one, there were, the people, faces and names changed and everything, but we were hitting it, pretty consistently. We were doing Box of Goth, we were having fun. And it just seemed like there was other stuff going on with, other people. And in and about and around northern New Jersey, my climbs, I've noticed that 2023, this Halloween season, seems to be subdued. I entered the Halloween season in a bit of a kind of, old man frustration with the mass of the internet culture, I guess. Wise words. Wise words. Where was I? I'm sorry, I got distracted by brilliance in the live chat. My apologies. We say hello to Phil Blair. Hello, Phil Blair. How you doing, baby? Mario, Tubular Bells. We'll grab a soundtrack. But look, it's still daytime hours, so I got to be, circumspect with our activities. Compared to other years, going into the Halloween season, I noticed, first of all, it was on Instagram, right? And my heartaches used to happen on Twitter. Then Instagram, it's not that it's definitely better because people don't use words, right? So it's usually pretty pictures, and generally for me it's just pictures of ass. It is what, not from me, Anyway, but I noticed people were talking about going into the start of the spooky season, and noting the start of the spooky season in August. And I said, folks, this post-COVID, our schedules being out of whack, things are different, things have been different, it's going to take us a while to adjust. There were some things that kind of, I think, got slipped in that we need to recognize have absolutely nothing to do with us or what we want or what we're asking for, or we need a little Halloween right now. It's entirely to do with the fact that these companies are just like desperate to sell things. And therefore, they're going to grasp onto any sort of kind of, emotional pitch towards, got to get this stuff. It's Halloween season, get your Halloween crap. Even though, look, if you take care of your stuff and maintain your stuff, how many times do you need to go back and, get more tchotchkes, for Halloween? And I also noted, I said, if you start the Halloween season in August, the holiday loses all meaning, right? This is this endless extension, and people are already, saying like, come November 1st, they're going to put up all the Christmas stuff. Well, we'll see, because I think if this is anything to go by, I think maybe it's the case. And look, I have to be aware of the fact that, my little view of the world might not comport with what you guys are seeing out there. Some of you guys are in international environments, you see all sorts of different things. And some of y'all just might be seeing, towns and cities that are just full on and all for it. But for me, what I've noticed is, a lot less houses decorated. And it just seems to be, even for me personally, just a lot less of that, Halloween, papa, flavor, and craziness in the air. I don't know if that's because, post COVID, everyone went into overdrive, around me with the celebration of Halloween and Christmas. People were going nuts with their Christmas decorations and stuff. But I noticed that people had been previously going kind of ape wild with their Halloween stuff. And I noticed a real kind of what I perceive to be a kind of a downturn in that. What might be the causes of that, whether that's just, hey, we went big for 2 years and so we're good, or whether it's because, people just, have less money to spend and go out and go crazy on that stuff, or what. It's just a feeling that I have. But our feelings are feelings. Feelings aren't facts, right? In your little corner of the world, you might be looking out with your peepers and being like, I see Halloween all over the place. I see Halloween everywhere I go. And so, your experiences, might be different. But all I could share with you is kind of, what I see and what I sense and, what I experience going on. But like I said, it's all entirely subjective, and it's subjective to me. And, when I look back, you realize there's always a temptation. Let's see if I can write this thing up. I don't know if that does anything. There's always a temptation to, want to make these holidays and these celebrations, important, and to, maximize it and to hit it and to make it count. But, you realize, like, it's like anything, in my practices, I've been doing a lot of spending a lot of time meditating upon time and chronology and years. And, people who know me know, my chrono magic practice with the nostalgia loops and stuff. You realize that, I gathered up all these books that were already in my possession. I bought new books and stuff that I didn't need from 2003 and from 2013 and 1993 to identify and study these, nostalgia loops. But what I end up now realizing is that we're in October, we're coming up on, pretty soon it's going to be another year gone by, and all those things that I had put that much energy in, I realized that a year, though it might seem like this huge, large amount of time, and they seem important because we're always, kind of referencing them, like, in 1969, we did this, and don't forget that it was 1988 when the young Axl Rose first asked America if they would be his sweet child of mine, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Like, we think about these things, but you realize maybe at this age, you see a week spin by. I reflect on last Monday and I go, holy, last, Tuesday, and I go, oh, wow, you know what I mean? Like, time goes by, and, 4 of those is a month, you know what I mean? And 12 of those is a year, and another year has gone by. And they accumulate, behind us, rapidly. And when I look back, with sober, sane eyes, eyes that may have been affected by, I became a father, these holidays, they change, when you have children, your experience, depending on, your lifestyle and your family and what's going on, and, your experiences about the holidays change. It's not just about you and your experience of Christmas or what you got, it's about, imparting this, this. And at the same time, look, I sit here before you, with, feeling like I've got more in common with, socialist, pinko, commie weirdos than I do with, you know, grandma's, baseball, vagina, apple pie, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, so you're imparting these things. You want your kids to have this childhood happiness, these things, but there's part of you that goes, but these things are lies. You know what I mean? Like Santa and all these. It's like, it's like make believe, or just even just celebrations. It's just you have to put into context to realize that you can get a scraped knee on New Year's. You know what I mean? The New Year's that you thought was going to be the New Year's that you were going to put yourself on the map, and it was going to be take no prisoners. Is the year that you get locked into the RV John, whatever the case may be. Like shit happens. No pun intended. Like life unfolds. So not every Halloween needs to be bonkers out there, wowie zowie. It goes nuts. But it is what it is. Also, my kids are getting older. They're 12 years old now. So it's like sometimes, it was back in the day, me and the ex-wife were in charge of, we're going to put on this movie now, and now we're going to watch this, and now we're going to do this. And now I'll say things like me and the ex-wife always have the same, like it's Halloween season, we're watching Halloween stuff. And the kids will be like, we don't want to watch anything. We want to watch what we want to watch. We want to watch this crap that we were going to watch anyway as, 12-year-old children. We're like, oh, come on, make it Halloween-y, And they're like, you know what I mean? They're like, they're not necessarily needing it to be 24 hours a day. Halloween, let's go crazy, let's go nuts. So it's just that. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, I think for me, it was the reflection on reflecting on Halloween 2022, and that always sobering moment that happens when you can contextualize the year gone by solidly identifying and touching a set of experiences, feelings, emotions, moments from a given period of time previously. Like I can remember 2022. I remember I can still see the box of old goth magazines and shit that I got out that remember, because whenever it starts, whenever the New Year starts, whenever Halloween season starts, you always have it feels like you've got all the time in the world, right? You get to the summer house with the friends, and everyone's got all these big crazy blowout plans. We're gonna have movie nights, and we're gonna do this, and and one day, fuck it, we have the summer house, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go camping, right? And at the end of the day, 99.9% of those plans, don't come to fruition, don't happen. People just come and they hang and they do whatever, but everyone's enthusiastic. And at the outset, at the beginning, the period of time before it has clicked off, before you get to October 24th and you're just looking at October 1st and you're realizing, okay, now it really is Halloween season. And then you realize you blink your eyes twice. Oh yeah, I'm going to do a show. I'll do something for Halloween. Oh yeah. You blink twice and you realize, fuck, all this time has gone by. But that's, generally what's been, happening to me in regards to, my experiences with, YouTube and everything. What I used to do, constantly all the time, coming and live streaming for, hours on end, whether it was because of what was happening in my life or what was happening in my life, interacting what was happening in the world or whatever, that kind of thing, that kind of always being involved in the online space, has changed. And, when I reflect back on periods of time before that change occurred, it can be like, it's not like, I wouldn't use the term off-putting, but it's, sobering. It's a moment of reflection. It reminds you time has passed and we were at this point and X amount of energy had been expended, you know what I mean? And now we're at this point where X amount of energy, is present or not. Having said that, I've got 15 people watching me live, which is incredible for me on the secondary channel, which I really, really thank you people for tuning in. I really, really do. Let me go back and say hi to people that have just joined. We got, hold on, let me see. I think we're going to pick up here. KB's with us, and she says, yesterday I found my Prism Edition Tarot cards you recommended from the Spirit Halloween store. Here we go. Don't know how to use them, but I've thought of you, and now here you are. The Spirit Halloween tarot deck is not a great deck for beginners. If you're not knowledgeable of the tarot, this deck can be problematic because it doesn't come with a guidebook. And due to the nature of the theme and everything, the characters presented for even the trumps, let alone, the numbered suit cards, are, kind of esoteric and, really, obtuse. What I would say to anyone who has just this deck is I would say, like, have fun with it. Like, do a reading like you see people do readings, and just, do a reading. Like, don't worry about what the correct answer is or what these cards are supposed to mean. Look at the numbers, look at the names of the suits, look at the name of the card, and look at the image on it, and see if you can start telling a story. Because that's all it really is. And then just, knowing the stories that have already been told about the cards previously, is just really, it's just other people's notes on what these cards could mean. There are people that are going to tell you that these cards came from Atlantis, or they came from ancient Egypt, or they came from, some alien's third eye. We know the history of tarot cards, and we know the history of them, first as a gaming convention, and then, used for divination. And I can tell you that if you study the history of divination or occult practices, people like, the so-called Saint Germain, or, any of these, or, Pericles or whatever, you'll see that, like, generally, like, there are people that, you may rate higher than other people, but there have always been kind of the David Wilcox of the world, right? There have always been, Nancy Reagan psychic being like, the Russians will declare peace by 1984. You know what I mean? There'll always be chancers and romancers having their fun and telling you what these things mean or don't mean. But, one of the things I always tell people is, like, don't be, scared of, like, learning it wrong. You know what I mean? I don't think you're going to screw anything up, especially if you're reading for yourself. Because if you're reading for yourself and you start looking at these cards and these images, and you start talking about what they mean to you in relation or whatever, you're going to get insight. And that's all we're trying to do with these cards, I think, is just to get insight. And I pull a card at random, and we get the Queen of Cups, which they've marked as the Gorgon. The classic Gorgon is Medusa, was one of the Gorgons. She's a very tragic, life story. So we can go, and when I look at this, because I know about Medusa, but because I also know the background of the Queen of Cups, is, it's, the watery part of water, suit. The suit of cups is the suit of emotions. The queen is the watery aspect of that. You can think of it as an archetype. Some people think of it, much more. We're predicting your future, and think of these people, think of the court cards as being, specifically for people. But, for us, it's like, look, you share this insight, you talk about thinking of me or having this experience, and then here I am. Well, look, it's people, a woman feeling emotion about, the cards or whatever, and coming and bringing, and there's a sharing that takes place. And also we notice that, with the notion of the Medusa, it's like the Queen of Cups can be in many forms. And that form, which some might consider horrific, some might consider very empowering. There are many within the, feminist movement that look at the story of Medusa, how she become Medusa. I mean, it's just, you want to talk about, patriarchy run amok, and especially if you want to talk about, what they call it, internalized patriarchy on behalf of, I guess it would be Aphrodite, I think. There's a lot there, but there are many people in the feminist movement, or many people just feel as though they're, empowered, women are just not just empowered women, empowered people in general, who identify with the Medusa and the tragedy of that story, and say, we shall become You make us a monster. You make us a monster through your trauma, through your abuse, through your aggravation. Hold on. Let's get this on. If I can't remember the video, I'm worthless. Video of a blue guy, a red guy at a party, animated. I have no idea. Anyway, so there you go. All right. Genocide. I'm working. You're psychic. Well, there you go. Easy. Phil Blair says, I don't have any pictures of my ass on Instagram. Am I supposed to? No, not necessarily. We have Phil Blair talk about November 1st as being historically still part of Halloween, going back centuries, maybe millennia. Well, hey, it is what it is. We have Joanne saying hello. We say hello to Joanne. All right. And as we have a Russian something on Twitch. Thank you for joining us on Twitch. I do not speak Cyrillic. I can't read Cyrillic, so if you translate, I'll be able to say hi. We have Skill Ski Trick or Truth. Always pick truth. Come on now. Here we go. There we go. Bucky's involved. There we go. Ba. We have Triaction saying hello to us as well. Say hello to Triaction. I'll Triaction. Why not? Here we go. And we got the South Mage joining us, and we have Alex Lipton as well. Fantastic. We have people, so it's amazing to me that that I've got this many people watching me on this sort of stream. But hey, that's fantastic and that's wonderful. I'll only be able to be with you until I got time. I started early. It's a funny thing. I've been talking about this with people in my life. So I'm a very dysregular person. Always kind of have been. And so as a result of this, I'm always kind of feeling like I'm having to, work overtime to not just do the task, but to deal with the things, the extra complications that have been added to the task, either through procrastination or just the difficulty and motivation or whatever the case may be. How did I get onto that? That's what calling to see. Don't speak for that time. I won't go. I read it. The Freudian implications or the Jungian implications are out of sight. I lost my train of thought. I apologize. It happens from time to time. Happens from time to time. I think it happens all the time. But we'll get there. It's tough. I'll probably find it in the mix as I go wandering around my thoughts. I'll try not to shake the table. Hopefully, I don't lose people due to lack of interest. But I want to accept things organically, and what goes to show you, I come here and I'm surprised by the number of viewers that I have, and that's a beautiful thing. Oh, I was talking about regulation. So being a dysregulated person, I'm always, too late into the office, this, that, the other thing, this, that. So lately I have been trying to, get good, get to bed earlier, wake up on a more regular schedule, get out of the house, push yourself to get out of the house, make sure you're keeping, better notes and this, then the other thing, and the calendar calls and all that shit. What I've noticed though is that when you are dysregular, when you're just all out of sorts, and that's your normal, right? It is fraught with all of these, wasted amounts of energy and needing to play catch up and all that stuff. But at least it's kind of like what your system is used to, and kind of, what and understand. So as I'm starting to try and be more better, right, or get good, I find myself this. So like I got to work earlier than I usually do, and I had a spurt of productivity and I got a lot of stuff done. And then on purpose, I said, well, now is a good time for me to stream, because don't wait until the last minute till you're streaming, going up against the clock, and then ending up being, late for something. Start early. So I've, relatively more productive in the office than usual. And then I get to, starting, the stream earlier, and you're doing better things. But the better things are alien to you. So it's like, almost as I tell people, like, there'll be times when people will ask me, like, you're doing better, you're sober, you're doing this, you're doing these things, you're hitting these goal marks, you must feel good, you should be proud of yourself, you should feel good. And I'll say to them, I go, yeah, no, and I get it. But what was hard to kind of explain is that there'll be times when I'll get to the end of the day, and there might be a feeling of, oh, well, I don't know what thoughts are supposed to occupy my head right now, because on my normal schedule, based on years and years and years and years of past experience, by 7:15, 7:30 at night, I should be feeling like incredibly, incredibly guilty about what I didn't accomplish today. And I should be feeling exceptionally anxious about whether or not I'll be able to raise to the occasion and perform tomorrow, right? That's normal for me. Normal for me, I think I'd probably, if you were to ask me, like, when do you think that feeling started, and when do you think that feeling, whatever, like that feeling of being at the end of the day and feeling like guilty about what didn't happen during the day, and feeling like super, super, super anxious about what, may happen tomorrow, or your ability to perform or do what you are supposed to do tomorrow, plus what you may have missed out or not done today. That feeling of anxiety, I think I probably had since, graduating high school. Maybe it took like a couple of years to like set in, that I was like, okay, now you're in the real world. Like, now really people are feeling like, oh man, we're gonna pay this bill for you, but fuck, dude, another fucking semester down the drain, huh, bro? That's cool. You know what I mean? Like, folks looking at you being like, why don't you just take that money and just go to Europe or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, well, you know what I mean? Now, Phil Blair says that sounds like ADHD. It is ADHD. It most certainly is adult ADHD, and I am diagnosed, and it's the constant dance of the meds and everything, and trying to get things, better. But when you're starting to, make lifestyle choices and changes, and you're trying to learn new habits, it's not that an old dog can't learn new tricks. It's just that it's harder for an old dog to learn new tricks necessarily. And it's hard for sometimes to get at the end of the day and be like, when that feeling of, I had X amount of things that I put on my checklist and I actually managed to do them. And so then I'll be there at night and I'll go, and I'll start to, there's sometimes when I'll start to feel like uncomfortable in my skin. or I'll start to, start to get kind of like crazy paranoid and start to, it's like I'm trying to think of things to be anxious of or anxious for, because then I'll have that, that palliative normalcy of like everything's, gone to shit, or we're in this high anxiety mood or mode. And there's a feeling of when that feeling is not present, not being comfortable with technically a sensation or a feeling that should be comfortable, a feeling like, no, you actually did it. Like the reason, you don't have to go through these things is because, you did X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it's like a festival of, wanting to go and say, well, you did X, Y, and Z, but was that enough or whatever, all that stuff. It is what it is. And life is long, and we gotta be prepared for the long journey and not burn ourselves out by going crazy, and just, trying to take it day by day as best as you can. So I try to find the things that were causing me anxiety and try and feel, less anxiety about them. And like I said, there are times when I think that my system may be, finding things to be anxious for. Phil Blair is asking me if I do a Halloween costume planned. I really don't. I'll probably end up, it's probably this year that me and the ex-wife will probably just be, wacky t-shirt couple. You know what I mean? Like I'm with candy corn or something crazy as we, walk behind these kids who are desperately more and more desperate to get away from us, which is like really heartbreaking for me. And the old lady, she, you know what I mean? We're always like, geez, you know what I mean? Like keep on hanging out with each other. We're divorced with these kids and keep on leaving. What we're gonna do? So that's gonna stop. Well, I'm sure like by the time they hit 13 or 14, they'll chill out and really want to hang out with mom and dad because we're so awesome, right? Anywho, so Philip Blair is a good suggestion for late afternoon chanting. I still got my office mates in the suite with me, so I think I can deal with them knowing that I live stream and I'm chatting up a storm. But I think that having a concert might be a bit much. Here's Bucky. I feel that when I first got sober, I had a problem with feeling like people didn't like me so much if I wasn't using, because I wasn't as funny or entertaining or as good at art or music or deep conversation. The sobriety thing might have an aspect to it at this point, given how long, and I'm not a day counter, I'm not a year counter, and I've actually kind of come to kind of a personal feeling about, despite the fact that I've talked very openly in the past about relapses and going back and this experience of rehab and that, the other thing, I think it's best if, because I'm not an expert and don't hold myself out as one, and because I'm really, don't want to throw anyone, curveballs, I just kind of like leave that aside, and I'm trying to I don't like concentrate on that so much anymore, talking about it. But I mean, it's there, but it's not that. It's not really that feeling. It's more of a feeling. It's not to do with external people or feeling uncomfortable around things. It's this notion of this the expectation when one goes to a meditation retreat is that one is on a quest to have that persistent monkey mind voice be still, so that they could experience a moment of serenity. But what oftentimes people realize, either on meditation retreats or meditation experiences just on their own, is one of the first things happens when you might be, oh wow, I'm relaxed, is all of a sudden you have that thought, I am relaxed. Am I the right relaxed? Am I the right kind of relaxed? Am I doing it? Oh, is that a thought? Oh, I'm not supposed to be attached to thoughts. Just let it come and arise. Is it rising? Is it going? Am I attached to it? Oh, no, I don't feel relaxed. Oh, shit. Fucked it up. It's just, it is what it is. It takes time to get, accustomed to things. And if you're an overthinker like me, it doesn't really matter, because no matter what's happening, there's the propensity to be able to dialogue all sorts of uncomfortable and, bizarre and weird feelings about any state of affairs, whether it's the state of affair of anxiety or the state of affair of, being chill. I guess to provide it with some sort of, context in this video. It's just the notion of, with this channel and the other channel, the main channel and the, the role-playing game channel, there's always this feeling, I just want YouTube to be this thing that, I think that the most healthy relationship that I would have with YouTube would be defined by the fact of that YouTube would be present and there as a thing, but it wouldn't occupy any thought outside of when I'm streaming, and there wouldn't be any real attachment to trying to make these streams or these channels, happen or have, success here, as those things are relatively described, because whenever those things enter in, all that ends up happening is that there's feelings of anxiety, and then there's feelings of, anger, and feelings of, needing to do the things that I think, generate the biggest sort of frisson or biggest sort of energy. And that's always negativity. It's always, criticizing this person, and there's plenty of criticism, whether it's on the RPG channel. Believe you me, I watch YouTube all the time, and like 9 times out of 10, well, I shouldn't say that. One time, I feel like this is a fairly accurate assessment. Probably about 30% of the videos that I watch, I just end up watching to the end because I'm so just like infuriated by the idiocy on display, or, the incorrect information, or whatever the case may be, or the point of view that's not being explored or not being seen, whatever the case may be. And so, like I'll be like, I'll make a video about this, make a video about that, make a video, and it ends up being kind of like caught up in that game. And it would seem that the better thing to do is to just look, when I have a feeling of, wanting to stream, then we stream, and, we stream with the feeling of, if there are people here and there are people present that hear me and hear me out, then that's, fantastic and beautiful. And if that doesn't turn out to be the case, then that's okay as well. But, like I said, there's 15 people watching me live now. Like, that's incredible. You know what I mean? There's 15 people that, collectively are having, to whatever degree that people are tuned in. People are tuned in from around, places. Some people might be looking, some people might just be listening, but people are having the same, data come to them, more or less, the same audiovisual experiences, more or less. I mean, we get the crazy subjective notions and philosophy of perception and what have you, but leaving those bigger things aside and just, simplifying it, there are people that are having, this kind of collective experience of and hearing me. And if it's not 13,000, it doesn't change the fact that there's 13 people. And I think that part of this whole problem that develops with like internet culture is that we look at these numbers, and these numbers end up like turning human beings into kind of like ants. Like they like reduces our fidelity, and we forget just how, shit ass amazing, like, even like, broken humans are, you know what I mean? Like really dumb, moronic, half, if I only had a brain type people are just, it's pretty goddamn incredible. They're capable of thinking of and experiencing, and the notion that there are people that over time have spent X amount of their life, tuned in to my wacky voice. There'll times when I'll reflect and I'll say, if you ever thought like that this number was too big compared to your number that was too small, you're totally lost sight of the fact of just what it means that for 40 minutes so far you've been babbling on the internet, that let alone multiple people, but at least one other person was tuned in voluntarily, listening, presumably with some sort of interest. Not because they had to, not because they were, your state sponsored or assigned, social worker, not because, the court, mandated that you be, monitored or whatever, not because there's, some, attorney taking notes, for a deposition that's never going to happen. But rather there are people that are, tuned in and are having, this experience. And even if they're half listening, at the end of the day, part of their experience of October 24th, 2023, included, me and talking. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because when you lose sight of that, you lose the beauty and the joy of this experience. I can be here with, 12 people watching, and I can find ways to tune in to the wonder and the majesty of that. Or I can go to the places that I've gone so many times in the past. And we talk about this YouTube thing. I've been doing this, for 2015. So we've been here for a while, right? There've definitely been times when it was like, there's 12. Well, the two shows ago, there was 30. Oh, so we got to talk about David Wilcock. If I talk about David Wilcock, there's 30 or 40, and that's legitimizing for me for some reason. And if we get less than that, then all of a sudden the standard has been set, and we get less than that standard. So now we're feeling, delegitimized or whatever. And it's like, well, there's all sorts of different ways to look at it. Number one, like the videos where I talk, where you get more viewers, but you're talking about something else or someone else. You're talking about something else. You're talking about someone else. People are tuning in, but people are tuning in for what, And in the case of some people, I think that we've just ended up with more views because of algorithms. We do have to take into account this notion of the dead internet theory, and the notion that, there's a whole bunch of these views and subscribers that even a guy as small as me has, that is like probably just the product of X number of people working X number of, bot farms who registered X number of accounts, who subscribed and then did nothing or whatever, or the YouTube views that might be generated by YouTube itself. We know that YouTube, like TikTok, started themselves offering, in a pilot program, offered to sell views to new channels. So they're bot viewing, YouTube is bot viewing itself. And, so it's like the perception of these things and, who's actually tuned in. I always say, it's like, you can have X number of views, you can have X number of things. It's like, if who's actually known, who can you see? And it's not necessarily that everybody has to participate in the live chat, but you get the sensation and feeling that if there are X number of people in the live chat, then there are more people out there that are not doing this. But when I see some of the numbers and some of the views that people show, it's so obvious. It's like, I'm not accusing anyone of malfeasance. I just think that, it's like those people might as well not exist. But I always feel like it's like, I came up with a number the other day. It was like any number of people that in your audience, like you can see names, Alex Lipton, Philip Blair, Jody Thacker. You see names, you can look at subscriber, you can see who's subscribed, to you new, and see, who's got a channel or who's got, some sort of presence versus who's just a number or a symbol or an initial. And you start to get this impression that, like, there's a ton of our perspective on things. We have no real reason to think that it's really legitimate. Do you know what I mean? There's every reason to think that, it's probably, a lot closer to Earth, and that there's probably, a lot of people that, are getting, they're just, YouTube likes big numbers like everybody else. Everybody likes big numbers, and people are out there looking for having their things have numbers. So if I put, something in the hashtag in the description or whatever, who knows what bot algorithms or things get triggered. Do you know what I mean? It's like we used to get excited and say like, oh, if I talk about David Wilcock or Simon Parks, then my views all of a sudden go, nuts, like they go crazy. So we'd start wanting to talk about those people because the perception was that there was a demand to hear about these things or hear about these people. And that there were people out there legitimately who might have minds that could be changed or could be reached or whatever. But then, it dawns on you, you go, gee, the exact, videos that get these spikes in views are the exact same videos that were tied to people that you just knew were bot farmed out the wazoo. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, congratulations, that video got X number of thousands of views. By whom? By someone who really, cared, who really gave a damn, who, it is what it is, right? You know what I mean? The numbers go up, the numbers go down, but generally, the names that we see in the live chat, the people that participate in the comment section, the people that reach out and send an email or send a text, it's always just generally the same, which always just makes me kind of feel like even if there are all these other people that do exist, it's what's the point? There's no real thing here. And also, look, I mean, it's unfortunate, but true that there were aspects of me coming into the YouTube space that it was this fantasy of, I don't want to be, a lawyer. I don't want to do drudgery work. I want to do things that are fun or good or happiness or wonderful. So let's just do this and hope that this becomes, as lucrative or, can replace, a full-time job or whatever. And after a while, you say to yourself, like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, all things considered, I can't make another Corey Goode, nor do I have a desire to. Do you know what I mean? Just in the same way, it's like, people talk about Donald Trump. Like, Donald Trump, if you look at his political career and the things that he did and said in public and, all the orchestrated moves, you realize that this is like a 25-year, 30-year, like, kind of plan that the guy, played out. And there's not a lot of people that we see on the horizon that we can legitimately look at and say, this guy is following or this gal is following a 30-year plan and they're going to be, real problem. They're talking about running for, presidency of the United States. There used to be always tons of wacky millionaires and billionaires talking about running for the presidency of the United States. Forbes, Trump, all sorts of people would always be throwing that. Bloomberg, all sorts of people would be getting involved and acting like this was something that they were going to do. You don't see a lot of that. It's almost like people realize, oh, Jesus, like either more trouble than it's worth, or the master plan to have all of that stuff come together. You just can't make it happen. You can't just be like DeSantis down in Florida and saying, well, Trump is looking not so good. So if I just act and speak and talk like Trump, then I'll walk in and it'll be, I'll be, the next Trump. No. People's ability to believe in that whole phenomenon, the whole, QAnon's ability to take off, all of that stuff happened because of the context of what was happening, there, on the ground and the machinations that were in place. And, God damn it, at the end of the day, probably, some of the specific votes that were cast. And so I, if I come here and I say to you people, look, here we are, whatever I did on YouTube and, however we got to, 5,000 subscribers on the main channel, whatever, like that's not a big deal, but whatever. But it's like I did that. Like, that's how I, like, the first hit single out of CW Chanter was like, blue avians, fuck off. Blue avians, fuck off. Blue avians, take it in the egg hole, fuck them blue birds, fuck them, right? Like, that was my first single. If I then all of a sudden, like, drop acid, go to Timbuktu, have a spiritual revelation on the shores of South Africa or whatever, like, and come to realize, like, oh man, you really shouldn't be saying, F you to anybody, including, bluebirds or whatever. And I want to come out and say, okay, here's our new single, Peace, Love, and Joy for, the elephants in the room or whatever. If you were called Metallica and you were famous for being a thrash metal band, if all of a sudden you get the haircuts, people are going to talk. It's good. People are going to say this is not like it used to be. But things change, and so here I am. Happy Halloween fun times. Is this Happy Halloween fun times? Jeez. Alex Lipton, I have it on good authority that David Wilcock hired an enclave of squirrels in his backyard as his own bot army. Unfortunately, I heard now this is rumor and speculation and also a bit. Okay, this is a joke. They turned state evidence on them. They're going to testify against them, the squirrels. Yeah, it's gonna be worse than Trump. My God, they allocated and everything. Lee Sparky was like, "Yo," he told us what to say. We were like, "What?" Archangel Michael, who? But it is what it is, folks. There's times of feast and there's times of famine. And there's times when you just have to accept the fact that, like, well, you know what I mean? You could either go keep on trying to, chase more, bizarro weirdos, and hopefully that they turn into it wasn't anything anyway. I think I realized, and I think that I'm accurate in saying that, the Corey Good perception, again, is all bot farms. It was all bot views. It was all just, I believe Gaia pushing, a product, and, that didn't work. It is, and here we are. So you can keep on knocking your head against the wall, or you can accept the fact that, like, look, if you are a hair metal band. Now, if you're a hair metal band, right, and it's 1991, 92, and you haven't done shit with your hair metal career, and you see Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots coming over the border, you're probably going to be okay. Why? Because you just, you stop using so much hairspray. Take the black off of your eyes and put them onto your nails, right? Change every baby into oh man, right? And every I love you into this sucks. And, then change major to minor, and I think you're probably good, right? Theoretically. Kidding, of course. I'm vastly oversimplifying there. But the point is this, is that if you haven't done anything, then, hey, you can change, courses, directions, and you can do a new thing. But if you've already released 3 or 4 records as, Pretty Pink Poison coming from the center of your gun, right? What's your name? My name is Bobby Sparks, and I'm the lead singer of Pink Pussy Magic coming from the center of your gun. And we're here to rock you, Detroit. Man, you know what I mean? Like, if you're already on, you've made the videos, you've made the photos have been taken, the documentary evidence is in, you can do a Stephen Piercy of Rat, you know what I mean, and join an industrial metal band, but everyone's going to be like, yo, that's the dude from Rat. But you're going to have a harder time switching over. You have a reputation, you're known, people have seen you, you release the singles, you release Cherry Pie or whatever the case may be, and now that's what. And where I'm going with that for me is just the look, it's like, the CW Chanter channel and the CW Chanter persona, to the degree that I want to engage in or revitalize or do something with this notion of 5,000 subscribers on the main channel or whatever. It's realizing that there's no real way to do that without acknowledging and experiencing the fact that those people came for came over a certain period of time, and we're experiencing X as far as your content was concerned. And if you make a switch over and two or three people stay with you, you should probably consider yourself lucky. I mean, the fact of the matter is that not, I probably, took for granted the notion that, like, people were tuned in for CW Chanter, and that CW Chanter stopped talking about David Wilcox, Simon Parks, Corey Good, and whatever, and started talking about, me, myself, and the other inside me, that everyone would just, be copacetic and be along for the ride. Well, if that doesn't turn out to be the case, you can get angry with people, like, I think I've expressed that. I think that, I've, like the move towards, making more videos on Patreon. I'm gonna still make videos on Patreon. This is the same weekly and still pushing the Patreon. But I know that when I first came out to push the Patreon again, I definitely was like, F you and you mothers, and you do this. So everything's behind a paper. So I definitely was like, had a certain attitude about it. But look, attitudes happen. Life isn't easy. There's pluses, there's minuses, there's ups and there's downs, and we catch feelings. And Lord knows I do. But here I am again, expressing myself to YouTube, for better or for worse. And then I'll get to the end of the video and I'll be like, man, I should do videos that are about things, right? This is a video that's a review of this RPG product, and here's the video. Or here's a short pithy video about this. And that I shouldn't do these just, vloggy, talks or whatever. But these vloggy talks are what I do. And then sometimes what happens is that I get to the point where it's like, okay, the stars align, and I say, now is the time, now is an opportunity to stream. And then I'll say, but this video idea or this video idea or this video idea, which of those ideas should I implement and do? And oftentimes it'll always be the case where I'll be like, none of those video ideas seem to be the video idea that I want to do then or really want to do. It's either a video idea that I think that I should do, right? Like, David Wilcock did another stream, so I'm supposed to cover that or whatever, but again, it's like that's that feeling you don't like, that feeling of not being motivated by joy or that which activates you to your quote unquote highest vibration, that which you want to do, but just doing those things that you feel you must do or necessary to do out of, and it's always fear. It's if I don't do this, then more people are going to unsubscribe. If more people unsubscribe, then eventually I'm going to have, no identity, on YouTube whatsoever. And I'll have squandered this opportunity. And I really gotta do something with this. I really gotta do something with this. I really gotta do something, all the work that we put in so far. And then I'll be like, all the work that we put in so far, these videos are all liabilities. I'm not proud of these videos. These videos, I said, too many, silly things. I said too many stupid things. There's too many people getting their weird voices and, into the mix and forget it all. Chuck it, delete it all, forget about it. But, I would regret that decision without a doubt. You know what I mean? I would regret that decision without a doubt. Phil Blair mentioning that fear sucks. Yes. Let me go back to the live chat, see if anyone's got anything to say. Not that you don't have anything to say, but anything like, No, I didn't see that video. Phil Blair. People always ask me if I see this video or that video, and oftentimes it'll be, no, come on, baby, I just haven't. Here we go. Here's Mario on Twitch. Listen, sell garbage coffee and garbage Bashar conferences with a convicted fraudster and his porn star girlfriend and travel to Egypt every week. Let's go. And that's the other thing. It's like, what does success look like in this field, in this endeavor? Do you know what I mean? but it was like, it's a tangled web we weave. And now, look, I get to know that there are some people who I got to be part of their adventure of life. YouTube and the internet allows, schmoes like me to occupy the same mental space that used to be reserved for, scripted sitcoms and meaningless conversation between ordained, talking heads on CNN. We have Bucky. It's good, CW, if you just chase the Wilcock, you turn into a Neo from Wish.com recycling jokes for 5 years ago. No, listen, and that's the other thing. It's like there's nothing new under the sun. And when we were covering Corey Goode and David Wilcock, especially in the context of the Q phenomenon, and especially in the context of them joining in with the Donald Trump is the alliance president, and he's spoken with the Palladians, and Space Force as being some sort of arm of disclosure. When that was happening, I mean, talk about the reality of the situation that was dovetailing into real world politics. So when I was talking about those things, and like January 6th kind of like, justified, it's like, it's like when we were talking about those things, there was a pertinent reason to talk about those things. There was something kind of legitimately happening. And even, objectively, if we talk about, Corey Goode in the context of how Gaia, selected him, molded him, and pushed him, onto the scene, and, helped, grease the wheels and whatever, then we're talking about a specific thing that was happening to a specific community that was altering things and showing that there was, something, that was possibly bizarre afoot. And, then you get into things like, Russian, anyone's meddling with, media and media perception and stuff. There were palpable reasons why it seemed that there were eyes on the story, and there was a story going on that was more than just, here's a person with obtuse and what many might consider bizarre spiritual beliefs and beliefs about themselves saying crazy things. Because they're always, remember, like the Psychic Friends Network, or the not the Dionne Warwick one, but the one with the guy with the loofah on his head, like that guy, like they're always, wild as Sylvia Brown. There's always going to be things to talk about, and to Michael Shermer, there's always going to be things to debunk and to debate, but will there be actual things to point to and say, like, this is like, this is fraud? Or, no, this is, look what's happening here. There's something like really happening here with this story. There's information moving around. There's events, taking place. There's people taking, specific actions. And, we should talk about them because no one else is. Or we'd get the vindication of, I would cover a story, I'd be talking about Corey Goode and David Wilcock, and then all of a sudden we'd see, the Corey Goode or David Wilcock clip show up on Rachel Maddow. Not that I had any, thing to do with that, or, that had any influence on it, whatever, but it would still be rare. So there was the notion that, even when I got excited about Cliff High recently, there's a notion of, if no one's going to comment on this, I'm going to comment on this because someone should be commenting on this. The fact that no one thinks that this is shocking and surprising. Do you know what I mean? Like, New York City is New York City, but if I see a little old lady, drop to the floor on the subway, I still have faith and confidence that I'm not going to be the only person that pays attention and says, we should get that lady off the floor. We need to call 911, or we need to, pull the emergency brake because, something's happening here. We need to get involved. Something needs to be said, attention must be paid. But then it also goes into the notion of are these numbers really real? Because if these numbers were really real, I find it hard to believe that there are like really, 35, 45, 85,000 people that are tuning in to a guy like Cliff High saying the most searingly bizarre anti-Semitic, racist rants going on, and no one is saying anything if the numbers were truly legitimate. if the influence was truly legitimate. You know, but I don't. I think that these numbers are all, kind of just, fake news numbers and make believe people that are just, gaming the system, and the system that's letting them maybe game it because they don't reach to the level of anyone giving a damn. It might very well be just the fact that if you bot farm or bot view a channel that's not monetized with YouTube, not part of the YouTube partnership program, YouTube might not give a damn. I don't know that that's the case. I'm just, speculating because there's a lot of things. If I wanted to go into this, I'd have to like go into it with Cosmo Creator. Bots, all automated. There you go. Absolutely. Phil Blair. Have you looked at this? I haven't looked into that. I'm not aware of that. But if there were people in Peru that were scared to leave their village, you want to know something? Can I tell you something, Phil Blair? I would have heard about it, but I wouldn't have heard about it from you or anyone else on the internet. I would have heard of it from a Peruvian. I talk to a lot of people. I have interactions with many people. I have a life outside this office. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of these stories that we get or that we see are just, it's all, mediated images. I mean, what's to say? I mean, I'm not in Peru, so if there's face ripping, whatever happening there, official stories, illegal loggers with jetpacks. Could be. I mean, who knows? Who knows? You know what I mean? The last aliens I saw south of the border were those amazing guys that made the appearance with the Mexican consulate. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And speaking of it is what it is and how times change and how things change. So you have David Wilcock, who now is not talking about Guantanamo Bay because we don't talk about Guantanamo Bay. And we're not even talking about the jab anymore, right? There has to be a news story, a big kind of news thing to go on to have people be able to kind of run the game, as it were. And if there's nothing going on except, politics in Washington and, Donald Trump really, 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 really having a tough time in the courts, which are always hard for people to understand, especially if they're trying to turn it into a win, and it's impossible to do so. It is what it is. And it's like when I talked about like when the slow period first started, and I acted like first I acted like it's me. I have decided to stop, talking about these people and covering these people. But it's that, but it's also, look, if David Wilcock is not, doing streams and therefore is not showing up in my, recommended views, then he's not showing up in my recommended views for me to think to myself, oh gee, I better get off my ass and cover him for what the boost that it may or may not do, which I don't think it'll do anything anymore, to the quote unquote algorithm. It's like, who cares about the algorithm anymore? Like I realized, like if I look at the amount of energy and time and effort that I've put into, YouTube, I think it's not justified if we were thinking that this was going to be some sort of alternative to work, or I especially don't think it's going to be viable as the alternative to work. I think that there are things that I do. There's things and ways in which I'm changing my work life and my office and my practice to adjust to things that I no longer, am willing to do, things I'm no longer willing to tolerate or no longer want to deal with. But there's a knowledge that the internet keeps on telling us, if you want to make it today, if you want to be successful, you have to be on the internet. You have to, you have to do this, and you have to generate, and you have to, game the algorithm, and you have to gain more views and grow the channel and get more viewers. And what I realized is, look, 5,000 viewers spread across the globe is the satisfaction of knowing 5,000 people hit a button that hit, that said subscribe at some point or whatever. But beyond that, you could, I'm probably not alone in being amongst a large number of internet content creators who, if we were to honestly look and, take an assessment of time, energy, and effort put into an activity versus returns, we don't necessarily make the call that we're going to, stop doing this thing at all. But, maybe we should, or, or just, I think that there's still people that just, we don't want to give up the ghost. Or it's also, look, like, I'm not going to lie, you know what I mean? Like, there are tough economic times and, things, aren't necessarily easy for anybody. So we're all a lot of people out here trying to, hustle, trying to figure out what's going to be the next thing to do, or that they can do to try and get over, right? Not necessarily to rip off anybody or to cheat the system, but just to survive, right? To just hopefully have the money that's going into the accounts be greater, right, than the number of the amount of dinero that is leaving the accounts, and YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and all these things have a vested interest, because it's to their best interest to tell us that this is the new world. The internet world is the new world, and if it's not on the internet, it's not happening. But that's not the case. You know what I mean? It really never has been the case. The real world is, still the real world. The majority of, I don't get clients online through YouTube specifically. I do not get, I do not look for, I do not get clients through YouTube or whatever. But the reality is that I'm probably, if a little angel were to come down and say to me, "Let me offer you two things. You can have 15 regular and consistent clients for the next 10 years, or you can have 50, not 15, 50,000 subscribers for the same amount of time." I'd be a fool if I didn't take those 15 regular clients. Times go up, times go down, but 15 regular clients have family and friends. You do good by them, they do good. You know what I mean? Like, having clients for law practice versus having 50,000 people who are going to tune in to watch you waffle about whatever, and then maybe occasionally drop $1 into Patreon or drop $1 onto PayPal. By the way, in the description box below, you'll see links to my Patreon and my PayPal in case you feel like supporting me. Hey, it just is what it is. But it's hard to make that call. I mean, I speak for myself, but I have a feeling that other people, probably have, similar points of view, or other people have experiences as well. It's hard to give up on the notion that you're going to be famous, or you're going to be, spoken about or revered or talked about in the same way that you see some of these people. If you go to Contact of the Desert, you see the way that people would talk about David Wilcock. Say things like, he's a rock star in this community. And you say, so that guy's a rock star in this community? Like, we got fuck this. Like, we should be cleaning up. Like, what's going on? But it's like, hey, buddy, if it's not happening, it's not happening. Just, what do you want to do? Do you want to sit here and create the next kerfuffle, or, stuff a plunger halfway up your butt and tell the people that you're the Thanksgiving Day turkey or whatever the case may be? Or do you want to realize the fact that, hey, YouTube is a hobby and, and a fun thing to do. And, maybe we can do something here to explore things or something here to explore things, but you're probably better off not worrying about the algorithm or the codes or the number to hit or how to present it or the thumbnail or whatever. And you're probably better off just being like, okay, do you know what I mean? If the number of subscribers go down, the number of subscribers go down. Such is life. And, no one stays, around forever. And, the channel is canceled at the point that the channel is canceled. And up until the point that the channel is canceled, people could still put the name c.w.chanter into, a search engine and find whatever is currently going on. I heard this too. Here we go. Bill Blair. Trump is comparing himself to Nelson Mandela now. They used to call Mandela a communist stooge from Moscow. So is Trump claiming to be a communist stooge from Moscow now? What's going on with Donald Trump is, I want to be circumspect. Number one, from a legal perspective, the cases that are aligned against him, however you feel about the man politically, the fact of the matter is he's losing in court. Okay. And losing, badly. Sidney Powell, they have this, and was it Trinovich, and now we have another attorney, have all turned around and gone state's evidence against him. This is not going anywhere good, and the case in Georgia, involves election fraud. Like, if he is convicted of that, he can't be president again, because that'll be that whole insurrection thing. And the 14th Amendment, I think it's the 14th Amendment or whatever it is, it's going to be game over. And I don't think the Republicans really, want to put him up there, even though they're kind of like, it's kind of like, we've been talking about this with the Republican Party for decades now. If you make deals with the proverbial devils, you're going to be in bed with those devils. If you want to get in bed and, no matter what your cosmopolitan urbane thoughts are, if you're willing to kowtow and say these things to the hardest core right to lifers in the Bible Belt, and you're willing to say these things to these Blue Lives Matter, anti-Black Lives Matter protesters, if you're willing to make peace with the fringiest fringe of your collective side, you've invited them to the brokerage table. You've invited them to the deal making, and you are married to them, and in many ways beholden to them. And that just doesn't go for people who might be coming against Trump. That goes for Trump himself. Look, over the past 2 weeks, I've seen Donald Trump literally say things that were verbatim, whether it's terrible minds think alike or whether it's not his personal reading is seeping into his world. He had lines in his speeches that were, look, they're the exact same word combinations as the word combinations contained in Mein Kampf. And he's saying things, we're gonna screen people at the borders for ideological purity. This guy has you've lost it now, right? You're no longer an extreme politician with extreme points of view that differ from the people on the opposing side of the aisle. You're going into territory where you're like David Duke, or where you're just a person that's like, you're there on the scene, but no one can possibly take this seriously. Hold on one second. It is what it is. The lawyers who specialize in civil rights and personal injury, both? Absolutely, probably. There you go. We say goodbye to Alex Lipton, who's got to walk the dog. We'll be getting out of here soon, too, myself. Here's Tim Frey. You got to pay your lawyers, man, and if they commit crimes for you, you better pay their lawyers, too. It is what it is. It is. We say hello to Drumpf. Trump, long time no see. Welcome to the proceedings. As the proceedings remain, to the degree that they remain, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, so we'll probably be ending, relatively soon. But yeah, Trump comparing himself to saying quotes that are lifted directly from Mein Kampf, and then comparing himself to Nelson Mandela. But look, he's not making sense. And more so than that, his legal defense is not making sense. So the real questions are going to be as we move forward, because generally I've been following, if you support me on Patreon, I just covered the MAGA Shamans interview with Carrie Cassidy. So I'm still tuned into these people that used to talk about Q, and they used to talk about, the Trump Meisters being, the president of the United States to this day still, and all this stuff. I don't hear a lot of any real attempt to interact with the minutia of what's currently happening. I hear a lot of still a desire to talk about the, Biden stealing the election, or this, that, or the other thing, and the White Hats or whatever. But as far as, the operative, drive, or the notion that anything is happening or going to happen, I don't sense that from the other side. And I really just kind of sense that everyone on the other side has kind of either gone into a state of kind of suspended animation, or I think a lot of people are reinventing themselves and are going to, slowly, shift and start changing their tune, but that's generally what people do, and people allow them to do it. There is no, from my perspective, there is no accountability within ufology, conspiracy theory world to keep these, presenters on track, or to hold them accountable for things that they've said in the past that might be contradictory things that they're saying now, or to the degree that there is any, feedback or pushback, it ends up being, one comment in the comment section that's ignored, or a, series of, highly motivated, tweets by individual X, Y, or Z that tend to not, catch any energy, and then therefore don't catch, any fire, any frisson, and therefore people just wait long enough. And look, Michael Jacko, who was telling people that he was the go-between between Q and Donald Trump at some points, and he's done all these things, all these crazy things, he's still on the scene. But now he just calls himself a spiritual warrior, right? And if you see interviews with him now, I saw an interview with him that he did with the guy that I know, Rob Gauthier. There was no talk of Q at all, and there was no talk of Trump at all. It's like burning your uniform. I mean, this is not, like Roger Stone still brings up Nixon, and Nixon hasn't been president since the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's dead. But we're talking about people that were actively engaged in saying one thing and are now completely unable to say anything. But then you see less output, or the output is changed, right? It's just these self-conscious moves. Like, so David Wilcock is going to now he's going to channel Archangel Michael. Okay. That is like quaint. Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, channeling Saint Germain, channeling Archangel Michael, channeling Metatron. Channeling qua channeling itself is kind of a quaint practice that I don't think is going to match what these people were experiencing when they were kind of, part of the, collective unconscious and part of the zeitgeist of, seeing people go to, mask protests, or seeing people go to, jab protests or whatever. And I'm not in support of any of those, that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just, talking about other people doing other things. On a day-to-day basis, if there's not something actually actionable happening, then you're Fritz Springmeier or Jordan Maxwell talking to a small congregation in a small basement church saying, oh man, you know what I mean? You got to watch out for these labels these barcode labels. They're rolling them out. They're going to put them on your baby next. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it is what it is. But I guarantee you that David Wilcock's Archangel Michael book is not going to be anything like these other things. But then again, I could be wrong. If you just wait a couple of years, everything could turn out to be okay. No. I really don't know. But I do know that every day, some things are the same from the day before. There's consistency from moment to moment, and there's also change. So we can rely on the fact that there's probably going to be a contact in the desert, 2024? But I think at this point we have to face the fact that Linda Moulton Howe is not getting any younger. We're losing more people than we're gaining. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if the interest is there on the ground floor. But then there are people that say that these alien conventions that happen for ancient aliens are still well attended, and they're looking as good as they're like Comic-Con for Zoomers or whatever. So be it. It is what it is. This is bad advice. Here's Phil Blair. You could get a small business loan to start a YouTube and social media business and hire small staff. I could also get a small business loan and, actually just fund a law practice. It's easy when they call on the wrong line. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think that investing money into a YouTube channel and a social media business is a bad move. I don't think that, like I said, my current business models that I'm working on in my life do not. I tell people, join my Patreon. I'm going to do weekly content on Patreon. The stuff that I used to do, I'm going to be doing. Make sure to do it on Patreon. So yada, right? Keep that party going and trying to make that as lucrative as we possibly can. Just hey, it is what's here. As long as we're doing things, we're doing things. But if people are talking about like I said, like my experience of YouTube and social media businesses or whatever is that it's just you're spending you're throwing good money after bad, and that what people need to be doing is finding business models that actually involve interaction and integration with live clientele locally in your region, because that's a possible sustainable business model. Whereas the kind of the social media business model is, look, folks, the influencer business model is making it in show business. I hope you know and understand that. Like, in order to make a living wage on YouTube or as an influencer on Instagram or Facebook, you need to be doing so much and getting so many views and being involved and blah, blah, blah. It is like being a rock star. It is like having a hit single. It is like any of that stuff. But here's the thing. Those things are not really sustainable, and those things are very hard to make happen. You have all these videos on YouTube, how to grow your YouTube channel, how to get from 10 subscribers to 1,000 subscribers and blah, 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 blah. Like, folks, like, if it's like the ever-increasing gross domestic product of the United States that we were taught to be with. Every year, the gross domestic product is going to get better. And every year, it's going to get better. And capitalism is just going to keep on generating more money and more capitalism, because capitalism and the gross domestic product is going to go up. And then when those things like didn't start to happen, it was like people, like, their brains were broken. It's like you have to be able to look at a situation and assess whether or not the probability of success and the likelihood of success warrants the energy and endeavor and effort in doing that. And especially on a thing like YouTube or on the internet, We talk about these social media platforms. They can cancel your account. You can be struck down. You can be this, that, the other thing. Starting you concentrating on making your business model in life be concentrated on YouTube is like starting a retail store in a mall that you know is the biggest, most successful mall for the last 10 years. But the day you move in, the landlord turns to you and says, look, you're nobody, but we're going to let you set up shop here and invest all your time, energy, and effort in building a business in this mall here with us. Okay? And look, there are a lot of people here that have made it because they're at this mall with us. And you could make it too, maybe. But you got to play ball. And here's the other thing. We're not going to give you any lease. And at any moment, no matter how invested you are in your business, we can just shut it down and throw you out. And possibly take all your money. There are people that are going to take that deal to be in that huge, gigantic mall. Why? They want to be at that huge, gigantic mall. However, it doesn't change the fact that if you invest your time, energy, and effort into a business that has this huge, huge problem, that is your physical location is not only your physical location, like it's like your world address as far as your YouTube channel is concerned and all that stuff, where people find you and all that jazz. If you're willing to invest your time, energy, and effort into building a business on land that the landlord says to you at any moment, we could turn around and say, get the hell off our land, or at any moment we could turn around and say, no, this is ours now, then you're probably better off setting up shop, not at that huge mall. But that's me. And that's me telling you, and that's me speaking as a guy who's got an undergraduate degree. And I've got, a doctorate in jurisprudence, and I can, assess things, and I can take a look at things, and I can make different moves, and I can assess when, something is, probably not going to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's like, here we are, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And it's like, if I figured that out before I, invested, thousands of dollars in this, that, the other thing, then, we're better off for it. You know what I mean? Life was a learning experience, and life was a growing experience. And who knows, the next viral video could be just around the corner, but I doubt it. Phil Blair, I see this live chat but I'm not going to highlight it because it just because you got it. I'm going to ask you to say things like, don't say things like kill or whatever, because not that you're trying to express anything bad. I think you're trying to spread information about something that is most likely legitimate and good, but it's just the algorithm only sees words. And so if you say K-I ... autistic people, it's just not a great look. So please don't do that. But talking about a person, who's wanting to start a nonprofit. I mean, I have no advice to give you other than I wish you the best of luck, and I hope it all turns out well. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. I'd never trust an organization that would allow me in. So, paraphrasing the great Groucho Marx to a degree. Absolutely. There you go. I believe you, Phil Blair. Phil Blair, I gotta tell you something, honey. I love you, but what I've learned is this. On planet Earth today, there are more worthy causes than I have energy. There are more worthy causes than I have the energy to investigate and to figure out, and I can't fight every battle. So I'd say to, Philip, I'd say to you, it's like, if it's not something that you've heard me talk about in the past before, you could tell me about it, but the conversation might not, go anywhere other than me saying, hey, it's there's that person who has that experience. You know what I mean? It just is what it is, and I just say that because it is what it is. You're in the live chat. I'm here talking, and it is what it is. Okay, so we might as well we'll wrap it up. I've got the Halloween tarot for us. This is our Halloween episode on this channel. Maybe it won't be the last. The 31st is not yet come, so there may be more opportunities to be on this channel. We know that I'll be planning to be on the main CW Chanter channel this week to do a Patreon live stream. Patreon, no tears. You can join for like $1 a month. There you go. And weekly. At this point, look, I'm doing good. I've been doing good with the weekly streams. So there's that. Also, speaking of alternative business models, if you like my tarot card reading, you can always send an email to c.w.chanter@gmail.com and talk to me about booking a reading. I'll tumble for you. We had the Queen of Cups before in an earlier conversation, and this time we pull the King of Cups that they define as the Orc. Okay? King of Cups. Fire of water. Whenever you get the King of Cups or the Queen of Wands, these contradictory elements interacting and working with each other, it's always interesting because these things aren't supposed to get along with each other. Or are they? Fire can be tempered by water, it can be controlled by water. Also with the blessing of fire, water can turn to steam and become airborne. Just different ways that we can think of elements that may appear contradictory to each other, interacting with each other successfully. So King of Cups, fire of water. So if we perceive this as a person, as an entity, this might be a man in leadership, a ruling position, but they are from the suit of emotions. Emotions and feelings is what drives them. It's what they experience. It's what they know, and it's what they understand. Everybody's got good days and bad days. On bad days, the King of Cups can be an emotional wreck, and watch out, because that fire is turned into boiling water, and boiling water can generate steam hot enough to kill you on contact. And so goes the leader, so goes the land. You can read the Fraser's The Golden Bough for some illustrations as to that, right? Back in the day, if you were the king and everything was doing, if you were the tribal leader and everything was going great, fantastic. If there's a famine, watch out. Oh, watch out. Because some priest might make the suggestion, it's all fine and dandy until somebody peed in the holy water. I'm just saying. Fuck him. Axe him. Get him. No. It's quite all right. I hear you, baby. Philip Blaber, I hear you, baby. I'm with you, baby. I'm with you. It's just, whenever there's the discussion sometimes in the live chat, it's a question of how to phrase and speak in a manner that communicates the importance of, let's please not do that, but at the same time doesn't come off as a rebuke. The King of Cups can be a good thing, right? You come to the strange land, and you have to ask the leader for some boon. You have to ask for sanctuary. So you plead. your case to the king. If it's the King of Cups, and you tell him what the journey has made you and your people feel, and how joyous you would be if he would be so magnanimous as to allow you to stay, then the King of Cups, and being that, having that suit of emotion, that suit of feelings in his heart, is not necessarily a tempest in a teapot, not necessarily a bad thing. If on his good days, when the King of Cups is functioning well, fire and water, it's like yin and yang. It's the best of both worlds. It's the king who can hear the emotional plight and say, don't worry about it. We got this. And if he's not the master of the technical details, he can look to his scribes, his emissaries, his major domos, and say, make it happen. We need cots for the peoples. Make it flow. So says the king. The orc. A monster? Not necessarily. There's a king in another land who's hurting the people so bad, the feelings that they're feeling, ooh, what a shanda. To death. He puts the babies. Oh, well, King of Cups, here he comes. You got a work problem. I don't want to hear any rational explanations as to your need or desire to maintain control and order in your land. Set. I'm fucking around. You're hurting people. Doomsday for the deceiver. So, reflections, words, conversation, and commentary for all the beautiful people that stopped in and were present. Thank you. If I were to get hit by a bus tomorrow, you heard me today. And there are so many people who never, ever get hurt at all. I should be eternally grateful for the amount of times I've been heard. And I should be especially grateful for the amount of times I've been forgiven. Hoy, your mother. Four of Swords. Vampire. Now, the Four of Swords traditionally can be a good thing. The suit of swords, the thoughts, ideas, and intellect can lead us to wisdom or can lead us to some far strange places. In the Four of Swords, we have this number 4. This forms like a square. Under certain conditions, the fours of the suits can be a boon and a benefit, and it's always been traditional to note that the Four of Swords is one of the few places in the suit of swords where we can find some rest, where there's a truce, where there's a balance, where there's some peace maintained between opposing forces. And what are we to make of the vampire in this position? Well, we have the vampire and we have his lovely victim. But remember, with the vampires bite, they can feed. They can feed to the point of extinguishing their lover. Or, if they're not careful and cautious, they may, what? Create another vampire themselves. Too many vampires, not enough people. You're running out of people, running out of blood. It's a problem. So in order for the vampire to maintain himself, not to disturb the villagers, cause too much consternation, he must think carefully and responsibly about his actions and what they do and what they mean. Bonus. And now I'm out. I gotta go. Folks, I love you, I love you, I love you. If no one told you they loved you today, someone just did. That somebody is CW Chanter. Make of that what you will, because you will. Da, 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 da. And if I don't see you before Halloween comes around, have a happy, safe, and wonderful Halloween. if you're into that sort of thing. What have I been doing? I've been watching all the Friday the 13th movies, and I've been taking the notes like I do with the breaking them down into the things for the the chrono magic and the spell casting and all that stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's looking like I'm all the way up to, I finished number 8, which was Jason Takes Manhattan. So I think I have 1993's Jason Goes to Hell. And then I think it's a fast jump to Jason X before, and I think I'd cap it then because then it's Reboot Town. I think it's Reboot Town after that, and I'm not necessarily going to go there, okay? But we could play the game that we played, Jason X Masterpiece. Jason, the only good thing about what did I remember about Jason X? Here we go. Oh man, we're having this problem, man. Call down to Earth. Hey Earth, yeah, got this problem on the space station. What is it? Da 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 da. Really? Interesting. Well, people haven't been back on planet Earth for over 5,000 years, so I have no idea what's going on. Wait, where did you say you got the body from? Camp Crystal Lake. Well, it's been a minute. But if memory serves, before the end times, when we left planet Earth for intergalactic space colonization, there was this guy, Jason Voorhees. Oh, shit. Man, he was nuts. Wore a hockey mask. Your guy has a hockey mask? Get the fuck out of there, bro. No, man, this guy's bad news. You did what? You quantum magnified him with the magnetosphere? Why'd you do that? Ah, you don't want to do that. No, you're fucked. Who was that? It was Space Station Alpha. What they want to know? Man, you know who they ran into? Who? Jason Voorhees. Who's that? It's funny you should ask. 5,000 years ago. It's or the best. Watch it every Friday the 13th. From day one you watch this one, day 2 you watch number 2, day 3 you watch. So you just do. So the great thing is the intro. When the movie starts, they kind of have to always bring you up to speed. But there's this point in time where it's like the bringing you up to speed got so long and convoluted that they were just like, Jason Voorhees, fucking forget about it. So I have no idea how they're gonna bring him back after he melted in Manhattan. But we're gonna find out shortly, and I'll be sure to tell you. Maybe, probably on the RPG channel, we'll probably put it into part of the game. Here we have Shibu Skeeter. It's probably saying nutty. My draft for a novel where a Hamas member and IDF soldier fall in love just got rejected by the 8th publisher in a row. That's going to happen. But then again, you always have to realize this. Look, I don't know you, and I don't know the quality of your writing. Okay? The majority of manuscripts that get submitted for review are going to be rejected. So regardless of whether or not your protagonist, your love interest in the movie, in the novel, were members of Hamas and IDF, which I've got to tell you, I think is a brilliant idea for a story. It's probably gonna get rejected, like more times than it gets accepted. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? You could always self-publish and get yourself canceled. Or you could do this thing where they say to you, we're not asking you to change your words. We're not trying to change you as an artist. What we are suggesting is this. Instead of Hamas and the IDF, what if it was a vampire and a nerdy girl in high school? I'm trying to help you get your message across. I'm just trying to help you get your message across. What is this story really about? Is it about Hamas and the IDF? Or is it about love? An immortal love that won't be stopped by the authorities? What is authority? I feel like it's been so long since anyone turned to another person and said, I hope you're not one of those artists or authors that's scared of making money. Right? I just feel as though, like, you know what I mean? Self-publish it, get canceled, and you know what I mean? I'll interview you on my show and be like, well, what were you thinking? Or I'll read the manuscript and be like, well, no wonder it got rejected. It was terrible. And I gotta go soon, but not before I do this. Astonished Mulchy. Hello. Sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers, followers, views, chatbots, etc. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be the best. Flexible and convenient order management panel, chat panel, everything is in your hands. Turn it on, off, customize. Go to Streamrise. Are you? Nah. I don't think I'm going to do that, but I like your attitude. I like you for being apologetic about bothering me. You're not bothering me. Technically, it's live chat interaction. Also, Shibu Scooter, I think you are the silver medal winner for Twitch participation, and that would make this bot the bronze. And there you go. But now I really do gotta go, or else I'll make myself late. Love you all. One Piece, One Nation, Halloween Station, rock and roll for your salvation. Yeah. Overly consistent views are a sign of botting. Overly consistent views are a sign of botting. If someone has the same views, basically from show to show, day after day after day after day, it makes me think, man, there's probably botting happening there. Just throwing that out there.